Things are not looking good for Ken and Tricia. I guess it feels a little bit like Marquez has finally got some sort of win. Hey lovelies, you're welcome back to Reviews and Recaps. Please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for commentary on reality TV shows and celebrity news. Make sure you tap that bell button right next to it so you know every single time that I post or go live. Now let's get into it. Shout out to On the Rocks with Jada, because that's where I got this news from. So the first news is Marquez and Tricia are finally divorced. That definitely took a very long time, but it sounds like everything is finally dissolved. Apparently, the parties are hereby divorced and on grounds of incompatibility of temperament. I feel like that is the understatement of the year. They are definitely incompatible in lots of different ways. At least everything is finally resolved. I do think there is some gaps that will probably need to be addressed at a later point, but I feel like they're at a point where things are a little bit resolved. So here's the interesting bit. The documents award joint custody of their minor child, which is their daughter. So Tricia still has primary custody, but Marquez was awarded liberal visitation rights, which means that he has to give her notice if he wants to see her during the weekends. Plus, overnight visits have been on hold until the dad can prove that he has his own residence and utilities in his name and has passed 3 consecutive drug screening. So I feel like that's where it gets a little bit tricky, because if Marquez is unable to prove that he has a stable residence, then he's not going to be able to have overnight stays with his daughter. I don't think that is unreasonable at all. At the end of the day, if you're going to be bringing a child to stay over at yours, you need to have a stable place to bring the child. So I definitely agree with that ruling. I do think it's quite interesting that it says consecutive drug screen. Does that mean that there was some allegations that he does drugs or something? Like, that's the question, because that's a very interesting thing to order. I don't think that is a standard order that is made. I feel like that only comes about when one party has accused the other of using some sort of substance. Because I just thought that was very, very odd. But you guys let me know, is that standard procedure? I would think it's very weird for there to be a 3 consecutive drug screening that is required if the issue of substance is not at all at play or has been alleged by one party at the very least. So let me know what you guys think on that. The other thing that I thought was really interesting is that the court has said that the mother is to have no live-in romantic interest living in the home with her and the minor child unless she is married to the person. That is huge, because as far as we know, Trish and Ken live together. So that means if they want to continue to live together, they're going to have to get married. I personally have never seen an order like that before, where that is specifically outrightly said in a court order, but that is very interesting to me. I think that is also probably because Marquez must have alleged that Ken was dangerous or something in some way, and wanted that to be included to some extent, or wanted there to be restrictions on Ken's involvement in the home, because to me that is a very specific kind of order and not something that is very standard in my opinion. I do think this fast tracks Ken and Tricia's timeline. For a long time, I've always felt like Tricia did not want to get married to Ken, but the problem is she wanted to continue to have her cake and eat it, get the benefits of having Ken living at the home, doing all of the things, like probably paying the bills and all, but not necessarily having that formal sort of setup of being in a marriage. So I felt like she was sort of enjoying the best of both worlds. But it feels like now, if she wants to be able to continue to have him at the home, she's going to have to marry him, because that is the only way legally they can continue to stay under the same roof with the kid. I do think that they didn't even give him enough time to pack his things, honey, because apparently it says effective immediately by 5 p.m. on August 25th, 2025. The mother is to have no live-in romantic interest living in her home with her and the minor child unless she's married to the individual. So she's going to have to run up to the courthouse and get married to Ken if he is to stay in this property with her. I guess this is just the way my mind works. My question is, how are they going to be able to police that? Because what if Ken is staying like there 3 weeks in a row and then he leaves for 1 week and then he comes back? Would that be classified as live-in? Or he's just visiting? Because think about it, if you're in a relationship with someone, you'd be spending a lot of time over there anyway, right? So it's like, what classifies as live-in? If he is going and coming back, right? And as far as I know, he's a truck driver, which then means he's probably on the road a lot anyway. So how, like, what determines live in? So I will not be surprised if that ends up being something that becomes contested, because I don't think there is any clarity as to what that is, right? And if someone really is trying to be sneaky, they can just say, well, I go over to visit her twice a month and I stay there for 2 weeks whilst I'm there, or I go over to visit her once a month and I stay over for 2 weeks in one go. So what determines live in? What if he goes 3 weeks at a time or 2 days at a time to visit her, then takes 2 days away, then goes to visit her 2 days later? Like, what is the classification of live in, right? Does that mean like he needs to be getting out of the house every single day, living there every single day? And I just think like it just has the potential to result in some sort of conflict as to what classifies as live-in. I think it would be very telling to see how Trish navigates it. Like, will Trish go ahead to marry Ken, or is she going to still not marry Ken? And they would be doing a relationship where he can't really stay over for long or live in, whatever that means, right? I would be very, very curious to see how that goes. Because I just think it would be harder for her to explain why she does not want to get married to Ken. I feel like before she had the excuse of being able to say, well, I am still married, right? Married to Marquez, and she wasn't really fast tracking that. But once Ken no longer was accepting that, she had to actually start processing the divorce. And now the divorce is over. It's like, what other excuse can you use? What else can you say to try to be like, okay, I don't want to get a divorce. I don't want to get married, sorry. What other thing can you say at that point? And my question also is Ken going to continue to fall for that? Because the truth is, I feel like you can only continue to use that excuse for so long. If the person is a smart person, they're going to wake up one day and be like, do you know what, maybe this person doesn't really want to be with me. And you can tell from the conversation that Ken is now starting to have with Will that he's starting to think about potentially, does he really want to be with Tricia? Now, I do feel like low-key that is more about storyline as opposed to him not really wanting to be with Tisha anymore or Tricia anymore. I feel like for some reason, he really believes that that is the best that he can get. And so instead, he will settle. If he's settling, he will settle on him being a side man before he leaves that woman. It's so sad, but that's just what it's given to me. I don't think that he low-key wants to ever leave Trish. And I wonder why, because I'm like, is Trish that amazing? Trish doesn't even seem fun to be around. So I don't really know what it is about Trish, but I guess there's someone for everyone, right? There's someone for everyone. No matter how horrible someone is, there's usually that one person that loves their dirty drawers, right? So maybe that's just who Ken is for Trish. And I'm happy for her. Everyone deserves, or it's always great to have that. Now let's talk about a few other bits that I really wanted to talk about when it comes to this whole Marquez situation. Marquez was ordered to pay $300 per month in child support for his daughter. I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like that is quite low. So I think maybe Marquez is really going through it at the moment financially, because I personally think $300 per month for a child, for a minor child, is too low. But you guys can correct me. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I think it's too small, but it really isn't. Like, you guys, let me know. You guys that have children, what do you think? Because genuinely, I personally think that 300 is too small. Especially because I don't have any kids, and that sounds like grocery money. So, yeah, and not to talk of like actually raising a child. So you guys, let me know what you guys think about that. Also, interestingly enough, the judge has ordered that the mother, as in Trish, can still like have a role on Love and Marriage Huntsville, if that's what she's doing. However, if she's involved in the taping or filming or whatever, her minor child cannot be involved in filming. So not the child's name, not the child's image, not the child's likeness, nothing, no exceptions, which means no more reference to the child. No more reference to anything to do with the child on the show. I will say, it generally sounds like the courts in Huntsville do not play about kids being on TV. I feel like they don't really like that, because then I think, isn't there something similar about the children and the M&M children not being able to film? So it sounds like the judges don't really take kindly to the whole filming thing with children. So sounds like this judge here is also on that. Well, to be fair, we saw the children a little bit. We saw the daughter a little bit. The son can't film because he's an adult. But we saw the daughter a little bit, but not actively. But I guess now we can't even see her at all. So, but I feel like if that's going to stop the whole back and forth with Trish and Marquez on the show, I feel like in a way it is going to stop that, because their back and forth were always about the daughter picking up the children or whatever. So I feel like that could probably reduce the conflicts between them. But anyways, let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like, share, hit that subscribe button, and tap that bell button right next to it, so you know every single time that I post. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you. Bye.